All right, get excited because this week we have on somebody that is a celebrity that you didn't know was a celebrity, but has probably spent more time with us right before we go to bed than any other person we've had on the podcast. It's Tom Hovey, who does the illustrations for the British Baking Show. And is it called the British Baking Show over there, or is it something different?
No, it's the Great British Bake Off.
That
That's called that here too. I just
it
think you
is?
got it wrong.
Okay, that's possible
Well, no,
too.
I think it is. I think it is like they change it. I don't know, but I also do the American show, and that's called the American Baking Show because I think isn't there something like isn't the Bake Off something else there? Does it mean something else? I mean,
There's like a million
Yeah, who
baking
knows?
shows on Netflix
sure.
now. Um,
All right,
but
have you ever gotten a handshake from
Paul Hollywood.
Yeah, Paul Hollywood?
Well, yeah, I have actually. Not for my cakes, but I beat a set like once in the many years that I've done it, pretty early on, and met when it was still Paul and Mary and Mel and Sue. So yeah, I met Paul. I mean, Paul was, he was fine, but he wasn't really that interested. Unsurprisingly, he like literally, I came over and said, "Hi, hey, how you doing, Paul? I do the drawings." He was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then like literally had a rugby ball in his hand, turned around and punted this rugby ball for like Sue that was like walking across the thing. She just like completely ignored it and just kept walking. But
Uh,
meeting Mary. I don't know if you watched the early shows with Mary's on it, but she was. It was like meeting the Queen when we met her because they used to film in this big country estate, and it was in between things when they were actually filming. So the director was like, "All right, come on, we'll go and meet Mary," and they like took me around. She had her own runner, took us round to this like walled garden, me and my wife, and they put some like little cushions down the seat, and we sat down and. We were getting married that year, so we talked literally about wedding flowers, and that was kind of it, really.
oh
Yeah, it was
wow,
amazing.
that's a trip. So you just ran the London Marathon last fall when it was
Mm.
fall, right? Or
Yeah,
the same time we
yeah, yeah,
did.
yeah.
And I guess they switched it around because of COVID, and now it's back to April.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So why did you sign up? First of all, let's actually go way back. When did you get into running?
So pretty early. I was in I think you call it elementary school. We call it primary school here. So I was kind of we had this thing called sports day. So at the end of summer term, all the kids you do you obviously when you're younger you do an egg and spoon and sack race and all that kind of stuff. But we're really interested in like the sprints. Whoever wins the most sprint races across the whole sports day gets to like be the fastest kid in the final year. And with like a year to go, or I guess after the penultimate year, I knew I wasn't the fastest. So I kind of said to my dad, who was a ex runner, I was like, "Dad, I really want to kind of win this thing." So we went to local. I joined a local running club and went joined a sprint team and trained for a year and won it.
Oh
So
wow,
so
you
yeah,
really
nailed
were
it.
into it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. Did you catch penultimate, Meg?
No.
Oh, he said in his penultimate year,
Oh.
which that's not a term we hear a lot over here, but I love
Okay.
it.
You know what it means though, right?
Yeah, senior year would be for us.
Okay. So yeah, it just means the one before the top. Yeah. But
Oh, junior year then.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So and then when I went to comprehensive school, when I was like 11, 12, I carried on running for the running team. Like, I go like Tuesday, Thursday nights, and then do uh, meets on the Sunday, and then first year of school, sports day again. For some reason, I signed up for the 800 meters and I won it. Because my dad was really into athletics, so he used to show me, we'd sit down and watch all the stuff. So I kind of I knew I knew the tactic of how to win the, and you kind of just stay behind the fastest man for for basically until the 200 meters to go, and then gun it. So yeah, it worked, and then my dad told the middle distance coach in it was Torvine Harriers was the name of the running club. And yeah, so then I joined the middle distance team. So then I was doing 800 and 1500s and then cross country. in the winter, which is, I never enjoy it, to be honest. I live in Wales, and the weather is bleak at the best of times. But getting up on a Saturday morning and running up and down muddy hills is pretty gross, I gotta say.
There's a lot of great runners that have come out of Wales, though. Then that's interesting that so you're a traditional track athlete who then kept going afterwards. See, I would have thought.
Well, I
maybe...
didn't keep going though.
Oh, you didn't?
When did you
no.
when did you stop running?
Well, so it was kind of that really. It was, I was probably 14. It's kind of vague. I was basically early mid-teens, and a lot of my mates were, meeting up on a Saturday and, chipping in and getting beers and hanging out and doing all the bad stuff.
Did you join a band?
Well, I didn't join a band actually. There's a lot of good South Wales bands from my area. But no, we were just more into the not the sex and drugs, not really the rock and roll.
The fun parts.
And it's obviously now 30 odd years later, I kind of regret it, but I just wanted to go and enjoy myself. So yeah, never really picked it back up again, unfortunately. But and I think the kind of death nail was, so I ran for like my county at 800 meters in the Welsh Games, and I came dead last, and I
I'll take the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, man. I think it was like I just wasn't, I had something, but I definitely wasn't the best, and I was never going to be the best. My dad was Welsh champion at 800 meters, and his PB was, about a minute faster than mine, and I was never going to catch up. So I was just like, oh, I'm done with this, I went and played rugby and football.
And that's when you started drawing pictures?
I was always, to be fair, I was always drawing pictures. That was a constant, you can do that whilst inebriated. So,
Yeah. Did you have someone in your family like, so when I started drawing and doing stuff, my mom was a graphic designer and a painter. So I kind of had somebody that, I would do little sketches for and they get excited. So that kind of like fueled my passion for that. What fueled your passion for drawing?
I'm not 100% sure what it was in the early, I was quite a gregarious kid. I was, I'm the middle of three boys. And it was, my brother was like the jock. It was, 2 years between us, and then my little brother was 5 years younger. And I was, typical middle child, just, super annoying, just blah, blah, blah. And I think like my mum just used to sit me down with a pencil and, and I'd just draw for hours, So I think it was like just it was a focus, I was never really interested in anything else in school apart from the art side of things. So yeah, I never had ambitions to really do anything else, to be honest. So it's not a surprise, but it's also a miracle if I ended up doing it. Yeah.
I'm sure when you started drawing, you're like, I wanted to be drawing cakes.
100%.
I'm guessing it was traditional, like you probably did superheroes and all that stuff, and it was that more like what was like something that you were interested in as you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, superheroes is never really a thing. I was never really a comics guy, even though I kind of went to uni for quite a long time doing different courses. But I did the thing I did before my degree was a 2-year course on sequential illustration, which is essentially learning how to draw comics, storyboards, all that sort of thing. And I kind of did it just because I couldn't get on any other courses because I'd messed around for a couple of years before that. So everyone on that course was just a massive comics nerd. Couldn't really draw that well. They just wanted to. They thought I'd go and do this course and it'll teach me how to be a good comic artist. But so I was kind of the only one that could draw, but wasn't really interested in comics, But so I was always really interested in people. Always did lots of figurative work and kind of like monsters. And my alter ego back in the day was Twisted Loaf. I think the website's still up, twistedloaf.com. So for a long time, I mean, even when I got the Bake Off gig, I was doing very different work. And like when I first started out, it was I was doing stuff in murals, and the street art scene was like really big in London when it was after I graduated. So that was where I initially got all my kind of first starts, was going down to London and doing murals alongside graffiti artists and stuff. But
I was gonna say
monsters
this
and
is
all that kind of.
it's starting to sound familiar. See, I was not, I didn't do any of the track stuff, but the
Nor rugby, nor football.
no, but the drinking and the painting on walls was something I'd like to do. He's saying it politely, murals, but it sounds like he was out there doing some graffiti and some vandalism.
Well,
But
no, but do you know what? I wish I was that cool. I was, I was, so it was quite a cool thing actually. So like after I graduated uni, it was, aging myself massively, but there wasn't, social media wasn't really a thing. So Facebook had just started maybe 2 years earlier, and MySpace was basically the place where I used to post work and stuff. So that was someone that ran a collective in London kind of saw my work on MySpace, and he ran a collective that was, or two guys actually, but and it was basically just combining illustrators and graffiti artists. So they'd kind of get people together for shows like we did like an annual thing at M&C Saatchi, the kind of advertising agency, had an office in Golden Square in Soho, and every year we'd take over like the bottom floor, like the foyer, and just draw over all the walls, and we'd go down like over a bank holiday and just do it all. And me and two or three other illustrators did this, like, it's like a 3 meter long wall. It was really big, and really intricate drawings. But we took like 3 or 4 days. The graffiti artists would come in, have a wall the same size and just bang it out in like 3 hours, and it would look 100 times better than ours. It was they were another level, because I'm sure, as it sounds like with your experience, that you're they're used to working at pace. We're
yeah,
used
you
to
have
just
to
saying,
work
yeah.
quickly. You don't want to be
So
standing around for a while.
nah. So
Yeah.
it was a really good learning curve. I learned that you have to prepare and and think about stuff before you turn up and show stuff off to the world.
Yeah. Well, or just go the opposite and just go spaz out and leave. But
Well,
so
yeah.
you end up, obviously you got back into running. What got you back into to hitting the pavement?
Well, so I guess it was always just a thing that I'd kind of come back to every now and again, but it wasn't until probably so I lived in Bristol for a couple of years after university, and then went to London for kind of 2 or 3 years, which is when I got the Bake Off gig, and then came back. So I was probably nearly 30, I think, by the time I really kind of took it up with any sort of not necessarily ambition, but as I kind of wanted to do it on the regular. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I guess it was just always one of those things, right? If you've been a runner once, and especially training like 3 times a week and doing that kind of stuff, it's always just ingrained in you that's I know how to do that, and um,
Were you
yeah,
out of shape, or were you just
yeah.
ready
I
to come
mean,
back to it?
when you're in it, you don't realize you're out of shape. But I look at photos of me on my 30th birthday, and I'm about 4 stone heavier than I am on my 40th. So just
That makes a
beer,
difference.
and when you're in your
It's fun.
20s, and you
Yeah.
just like I found cooking and all that kind of stuff. So I'd cook a lot and eat a lot and drink a lot.
Yeah, for me it was just you go from your 20s when my metabolism was on fire, and you continue to eat like that, and then all of a sudden your metabolism goes, "Hey, look at yourself."
I know, it's terrifying.
It is. All right, so you get back into running and you're doing the illustrations.
Yeah, wait. So how did you get that gig with the British Bake Off?
So, so like I said, I was doing lots of stuff. I was living in Bristol, which is in the West Country, west of England, and I was popping down to London fairly often to do kind of all these fun things, doing shows and live drawing on like Carnaby Street and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like this is the place to things are happening. And Bristol now is an incredibly like vibrant arty city, but back then it hadn't really had its kind of heyday. So me and my wife, my girlfriend at that point, we were like, right, let's just go and give it a go. And she's, super organized and, the polar opposite of me. So she had a job lined up straight away, go in there. I had nothing lined up. So I turned up and just got a job in a pub and in an Irish bar with this guy who was like I feel like he had a shady past, but he was like a psycho. Like he was not a cool guy. So I was instantly trying to find a way out, and my best mate also lived in London, but he worked in telly. And he worked for Love Productions, who make Bake Off, and he was like, "Oh, look, they're looking for people to work in the edit of this new show, and you don't need any experience or skill." So it's the equivalent of like a runner, but in a post-production house. So it's called a logger, and I would basically sit and watch all the footage. So I was in like a room. Small edit suite with the series director and the series editor of what turned out to be the first series of Bake Off. So I just sit at the back of the room and just watch all this footage and cut it up and just, because there's so many, it's like 5 cameras shooting for 8-9 hours a day for 3 days. It was a lot of footage to cut up. So I would cut it up and transcribe stuff and feed it to them. And and I got to know them, and they were like really cool guys. And they, I explained my complete lack of interest for the TV industry, and that I was there to be an illustrator. And so a week or two in, they came back from lunch one day, and they were like, right, we can see through editing the first show that there's kind of this visual element missing from the show that. We think that graphics, so we call it graphic illustrations could help visualize. So do you want to pitch some ideas? And so yeah, I pitched maybe 2 or 3 different drawings, and it was literally just a matter of being, it's like too detailed, not detailed enough, don't use like cross hatching because it's like strobing, like stripes and that kind of stuff on telly. Yeah. And then it was literally right. You got the job, and then it was, and then negotiating with the guy who'd given me the job as a logger like 3 weeks earlier. He was like, right, now you got to do 8 episodes of drawings, and he was like, okay. So yeah, I got paid very little that first series because they were like, we didn't have a budget for graphics.
But now it's part of the show that people expect. Now, a lot of technology has probably changed since the first one. And I noticed you do some of your illustrations on iPad, or at least I saw you doing a demo on an iPad. How much time does it typically take for you to, because you have, what, in the beginning of the show, 8 bakers or something like that?
12.
12. A baker's dozen almost. Yeah, I get it. So 12 people. So in the beginning, you're cracking out 12 illustrations?
So 2 challenges per episode, so it's 24.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of work.
Yep.
And how long do you have to, like, so say a season? How long do you have to illustrate all those different baking items?
Well, so I started. So series 14 this year. They started shooting 3 weeks ago, and I start drawing as soon as they start shooting, like a few days later. So I started 2 weeks ago, and the show airs, I think like August, maybe middle of August, end of August, something like that. So we just start going now, and we just concurrently run through, but we do. So it's the main show, which is 10 episodes. British Bake Off, and then before that ends, we start doing Junior Bake Off, which is 15 episodes, and then really helpfully they brought in the American Bake Off, which edits exactly the same time as Junior Bake Off. So
perfect.
two series at the same time, which is so fun, and then we do the Christmas New Year episodes and celebrity ones. Which is celebrity charity ones. So So we literally end. I usually end the week before Christmas, essentially. So
That's crazy.
from now
How
till
did
Christmas is cakes.
how does it work? Because you said you've only been in the studio a couple times, so I'm assuming you work remote. And then, like, do they send you photos, video? Here's the people's names. Here's the description. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's all remote. So they have like a team called the food team on set who are doing loads of other stuff, I'm sure, which I don't know about. But one of their jobs is, when they finish the bake, they say, right, time's up. There's about an hour in between where they clean up the tent, because if you ever seen it, it's like it's chaos in that
Yeah.
tent,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then suddenly when they're judging, it's all clean again.
yeah.
So there's a whole team of magicians come in and like clean the tent. So in that time, they go around and take photos of each bake. So I basically just ask for as many photos as possible from all the different angles. Usually just like a 45-degree angle, like a beauty shot from the whatever is the front is usually like the main one that we work from. But it's handy to have as many as possible. And then and then after judging, they go in and take a few more when it's been sliced open. And then a few days, basically after they finish filming, they go back to the office, label all of them, saying what each one of it is and who did it, and then also write up like a whole something we've only introduced in the last few years, maybe last 5 years or so, but basically like a rundown of what everyone planned to make, and then potentially what went wrong. If something went wrong, you know, how can we correct it? And it's quite good in the last kind of like 5 to 10 years or 5 to 8 years. I think because maybe everyone's got phones now. Like we started so long ago, it feels like people didn't have phones back then. But
Yeah.
um, but now people just take photos of everything. So they do practice
Yeah.
bakes at home. Yeah. So most of the time, if something goes wrong, there's usually a much better version that they've taken a picture of at home. So we can work from that, which is
Oh, nice.
yeah, really handy.
So is there going to be, and forgive me if there is already, but it seems like a natural fit for you to have some sort of illustrated baking cookbook.
Yeah, no, it's not something that's ever been brought up. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why, but I've done
I
a
mean, if you have all the illustrations, it would seem to be an easy thing to,
yeah.
you know,
I think
to
because they I
assemble.
think because they know it'll cost them. I'm not sure why, but
Profit
yeah,
sharing.
lots of people have asked for it, but yeah, it's never happened. But I did a coloring book in 2016, which was fun from my point of view, just because I basically just redrew a lot of the best bakes or a lot of them from the previous years. Did them a bit more detailed and that kind of stuff. So that there's something, um, and it's just the drawings, so it's quite cool.
All right. So how does running play? Is it your stress relief? Is it just for like how do you use running in your day to day?
Well, now it's for sure a release and a getaway. Um, I think like when I first started running, it was just like I want to do a half marathon. I want to do a 10K. I just sign up for a race, train for that race, probably stop again for another few months, and then sign up for another one. A year or two later. But as soon as I started running, I kind of always had ambitions to do a marathon, and um, my wife would just be like, "We're having a baby, training for a marathon. We're getting married, training for a marathon." So the last set of kids that we had, it was like, I'm training for a marathon. Once we were out of the water anyway. Because so I've got a 6-year-old daughter and 3-year-old twins. So we had them in the December 2019. So and in the when was it? Yeah, September we moved. So we moved back to my hometown in South Wales from Bristol, September, had the twins, and then 3 or 4 months later got locked in our house and told we weren't allowed to leave with no help or childcare. So yeah, it was quite.
That's a fun way to start being a dad.
Well, no, so obviously, yeah. So Bella, my oldest, she was 3, so it was like, yeah, it was hard work, man. She watched a lot of Disney Channel, but it was just like a few months into that, it was just kind of like, right, I need to do something, because it was, we were all just going insane, and it was like, doing laps of the garden, and then when we were allowed out, it was like, right, I'll just, I'll see how far I can run. We were allowed, like, I think it was, I just basically started doing 5Ks. There's like a path that runs around my estate. So I was just doing 5Ks, and it was, I mean, it's hilarious, really, but it was, the day was so, full of everything, mostly childcare, washing, all that kind of business, that it was about like 4:15 every day. It was kind of like, right, there's a window, go. Just like, trainers on, run out the door, 20 minutes back. Yeah, and then it just kind of, and then, yeah, as it all eased, we were allowed to go out a bit more and run a bit further. I was like, right, I'm gonna start training for a marathon, and stupidly, I had no real proper training. Every race that I'd done in the past, kind of 10Ks and half marathons and stuff, I'd just gone out and just run as fast as I could, and just slowly increase the distance, and would just be running as fast as I could, and then I'd go to the race, no tapering, anything like that. Yeah, when I decided I was going to do a marathon, went out, and within a couple of months just got runner's knee, and that's kind of been a little bit of a theme for the last couple of years. I've had quite a few injuries, so I've just been in between injuries. Luckily, was okay for the whole marathon block. Did okay, and then and just immediately injured again. Right after the marathon, got runner's knee again, which is so annoying. And I kind of, as we all do, I'm sure, just consume lots of, I sit here drawing with YouTube on. The algorithm's just feeding me stuff about, I'm clearly just talking to my phone about being injured and being annoyed. So I'm just being told that. So, I'm being told that heel striking is the devil. So we went to, my older brother and my wife's older brother both live in Australia, so we went out to Oz for Christmas and New Year and my 40th birthday this year. And so I was like, right, I've got back to, I'm gonna change my running style. I'm gonna be a 4-foot runner now, and so I was taking it easy with the running and stuff, but yeah, and it was nice to be able to run in Australia, because I was like, no matter what, I'm running, going to all these amazing places, running like Bondi, and then going to Perth and that kind of stuff, running on beaches, going for a run on my 40th birthday morning was like super nice, and then jumping in the sea straight afterwards before anyone was awake was very nice. But yeah, got back, and then my Achilles, literally the first run since I got back to Wales, I went out for like a 17K run, just about to start a marathon kind of training block, because I had a marathon booked in for 2nd of April in Wales, and yeah, just my Achilles just really, really hurt. So when I looked at, and yeah, I was like, right, so stopping running again.
Sounds like Wales is the problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. But that was I DM'd you, Megan. You may not remember, but that's when because I heard your podcast and you guys talking about the rap, and I got on the rap.
Yeah. And did it work?
Yeah. I've been running. Yeah, so, I'm back to it now. I've been running for about.
We should have you illustrate the rap.
Be happy to.
You totally skipped over the London Marathon, which this was your first marathon, yes, and your only marathon so far?
Yeah.
And you ran it for a charity.
Yeah, so talk to us all about that day. Like, how was it?
Yeah, it was amazing. And yeah, I really, really loved the training. I kind of before I'd kind of got into it, with a full family and the kids waking up early and all that kind of stuff. It was like the only way I'm going to do this is by getting up super early and getting out when it's dark and all that kind of stuff. So, um, I actually really enjoyed it and really, it kind of changed a lot of stuff because, it meant I was going to bed early. I wasn't staying up late, just doing shit and,
You mean
just
drinking?
well, yeah. Do you know what? I stopped drinking. Not I didn't stop drinking completely, but I stopped drinking a lot as much as I was. I wasn't just Friday night. Right, it's Friday. Midday I'm going out and buying like 8 beers for the weekend and a bottle of wine. That all just kind of stuff. I didn't drink wine the whole year, which is pretty
Oh wow.
amazing. Um, but yeah, obviously I loved the marathon, but I feel like I loved the training more. Um, you know. Because as well, like when we went on holiday to like France and stuff, and it was like getting up at like 5 and going and running. We were in like this really remote uh, town, like about an hour outside of Paris, and it was like, and it was really funny because the only people, the French are very, kind of, I'm not gonna say lazy. I can't think of a better word, but they're not getting up super early, apart from blokes going fishing because I'd run along the Seine and they just look at me, in all my gear, because I was just starting to do like the 20-mile runs and stuff, and they're just like looking at me like this guy, and then I'd see him like 2 hours later coming back the other way.
They're probably like,
But
what's wrong with this guy?
yeah, who is this guy?
I mean, I think you bring up a great point though, is like if you're going to fall in love with running, it's really the training and the discipline that you fall in love with.
hmm
And the fact that like you don't see your city or cities that you travel to the same way. Even here we live along the water. And so when you wake up and when you run, the city changes and the light off the water changes. You can be running in pitch black. You can be running
Yeah,
in, all these beautiful scenarios along the same path. But that's where the love really starts to dig in, is that daily discipline.
yeah, big time. And yeah, and even around here, like we've moved to a place which is kind of 10 minutes, up the road from where I grew up, but there's kind of hills behind our estate that I'd never been to. We used to drive down the lanes and when my mates started driving and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never get out the car. It is, and so running, I've discovered this whole kind of world. And and through the training, I'd go out and be up there and just watching the sunrise. I'd get up to I'd run up the trails. I did a lot of trail stuff in my training um, and loved it because it was the first time I've ever really done that. Um, and just watching like the sunrise over the hills and stuff. It is amazing, and there's also a sense of as you're kind of like, haha, look at me, getting the post on, putting your story on Instagram, 2 hours before anyone's even woken up of the sunrise. But it is like, you're absolutely right. Like seeing places, like when I was in Australia as well, I would get up in the morning and drive, 20 minutes across Sydney to Bondi just to run that stretch, and I mean,
Yeah.
Australia is different. Everyone's up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do all their running just because it's so hot, but,
Yeah.
um,
And surfing but
yeah.
it's funny because London for us, we did a trip to Dublin for Meg's brother got married over there. And then we went to London, and it was my first time in London. And what a perfect way to see the city and the parks. But,
Yeah.
we just ran the whole thing. And it was like, I had the best time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also gutted. It was I think I just started listening to you guys' podcast, and I did know about your shakeout run, but I was staying at my mate's flat in Clapton, which is like East London, and it was like my first marathon, so I was kind of like in on the,
Focus.
kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I was like, do I really want to spend half an hour on the tube, walk into the tube, get in the tube just to meet these guys, and I'm gutted I didn't. I just went, but I just went for a run up the canal and it was nice and stuff, but
It's a little bit of fun. Do you guys have FOMO over there?
We got FOMO, yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. Did you get a little? Because I look at some of the stuff,
Yeah.
like especially going over to London and the group that we got to run with. I was just like, wow, this was cool.
I want to go back in 2024. So if we do go back there, we'll have to sync up for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I'd love to run it again. I put in for the ballot for next year, so fingers crossed. No one ever gets it, but my mate up the road actually, who he ran the London with us last year, and he put in for the ballot, not expecting not to get it, but knowing that he had a kid on the way, and so basically had to do the whole training block with a newborn baby, and really suffered for it.
No sleep.
Yeah.
So you ran for a charity this past year. What was the charity?
The Stroke Association. So both my grandparents died kind of in the 12 months before training started. And they didn't die of a stroke, but strokes kind of pretty seriously affected their kind of later life. And almost every run I've ever done has been, kind of for a charity cause. And I think, I think just doing any sort of run that, especially like my first marathon, not knowing the motivation that you need to kind of get up every day and do that thing, having that motivation to raise money for, a charity, but, in their memory is also like super important. Well, it was for me. And actually thinking back to, your earlier question of, what got you back into running, like the first kind of race I did, really getting back to it was, a friend of ours, sadly lost her baby, and like stillborn, like our best friends, and they organized a group run to do it in Portsmouth called the Great South Run. And so a big team of us, kind of 10 or 15 of us, all did it for that, and did it for a charity called Tommy's, which is a stillborn and premature death charity. And that race actually got me was the thing that actually, doing training got me back into running like properly, I think, because it was the first race I'd done for a really long time. So yeah, I think like the charity thing is, especially with London as well, it's such a huge part of London, the marathon, and it would be nice to, I did have that marathon booked for April that was just purely a sign up and go, because obviously it's amazing to raise loads of money for charity and all that kind of thing, but I was interested in just kind of doing it for the just kind of doing it.
Do you have something else lined up since you couldn't do that April marathon?
Well, no, I'm trying to be sensible and not. So I've kind of gone, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. So since kind of the Achilles injury, I just kind of went. I've never been like a gym guy, so I've never like lifted or anything like that, and I was doing like core stuff throughout the marathon block. I used Macmillan, the Greg Macmillan kind of coaching thing. He used like I used that as for my marathon training, which is really helpful actually. And having the core training and the horse rant stuff was really helpful. But so since now I've kind of like gone the other way, and now going to like the gym 3 mornings a week and doing kind of like strength stuff and a bit of HIIT. And I was basically just on the cross trainer like 3-4 times a week until I could get back to running. And then I'm just slowly now, I'm back to, like, last week was the first time I ran twice in a week and then once on the elliptical. So I'm just trying to kind of get strong, and slowly build up. Basically, I think the plan is just to do base, for the next few months, and then maybe like a couple of 10Ks or maybe a half marathon in the autumn, and then if I don't get into London, like Newport Marathon, which is my hometown, is almost maybe the week after London, I think. So I'll probably try and do that because I think coming from a track background, my thing is always just run as fast as you can at all times. So I think that was the hardest thing from my marathon training was
That's
pulling it back, to not go like.
Yeah.
that's how kids run. Like children, like if you when your daughter gets a little older and you're like, hey, let's run around the block, that they take off at top speed and you're like, hold on.
See how she lasts. Yeah, I'm very much the guy, and I'm not anymore, but I was always the guy if I'm out for a run, it's like there's someone in the distance, I'm just gonna run as hard as I can until I pass him and then, try not to die straight afterwards,
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't want to compete with you. Like if you're up ahead, I'll run 10 feet behind you. That way I don't have to work too hard.
Wow.
Do you going to the gym, like having to replace some of your running with these other things? Do you find it just as satisfying?
Yeah, I'm starting to, and I'm trying not to be a gym rat, but I think that again, it's I like routine and I like protest and seeing results, I think. So yeah, I'm having to get in there at, get in the gym for like 5:30, and just do a couple of hours and then literally get back in the door for, 7:30 when the kids have breakfast, so.
Does your wife notice the physique changes, or like is she, she's just like, whatever?
I'm kind of flexing.
You flex in front of her a lot.
She's, no, she hasn't noticed yet. She will.
Start picking up heavy stuff in front of her. Yeah.
4 bananas.
Is she more concerned about your Achilles wrap situation?
She was, 100%. She was like, what is happening?
Where's all the plastic wrap?
Yeah, we were going through a lot of cling film.
Yeah, cling film. That's it.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, we call it saran wrap, but like I knew that it probably was something different over there.
Yeah, no, totally.
So you mentioned you've watched some of our shoe review videos. So what are you running in? What's your daily trainer?
So right now, just because there's not much of a rotation going on, just because I'm not really running enough, it's the Nova Blast 3, which
Nice.
I love actually. So I bought it just before I went to Australia, and I was kind of really on the fence about is it too much to take 2 pairs of running shoes when I'm just getting back to running? Do I need to take a pair of Vaporflies?
So is that what you ran London in, the Vaporfly?
No, actually, I ran in the RC Elite, the New Balance, which I loved.
That's
actually.
crazy. So all 3 of us would have been running London together in the same shoe.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. So I had Vaporfly kind of from the year before. When did I run? So I did the Great South Run again a couple of years after I did that initially, and ran it in the Vaporfly. And they were, they're just rapid. It's just weird how fast you're going. I kind of, again, for that, I didn't really train in a specific way for it. I was just kind of running. I just got my Garmin for the first running watch, and I was just going, when it tells you what workout to do in the morning, I just did that. And then,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then you know what? Literally like a week or two before the race, I can't remember if it was like I think it was just a tempo run or maybe a fartlek, but it was like run at 4:12 a kilometer for the middle bit, and it was like, wow, that's fast. I could but I sustained it and I felt okay. So then when I got to the race, I just as you always do, or I always do, set off with a plan, and then everyone's running really fast. So I was like, oh, I got to keep up with them. And I ended up just running at that pace, and I was like, well, fuck it, let's just see how we go. And and that was, and I ran super fast, so that was like super fun. But like I just felt afterwards I kind of had some, not like super injuries or something, but I just felt kind of like I had like a sore kind of like the ball on my foot and stuff, and I just wasn't sure. I wasn't. I didn't feel like I feel like I needed more kind of cush for the
For the
marathon.
fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would like to try something a bit faster for the next one. Maybe we'll see.
Have you tried that? Is it Bischoff's butter? What's the cookie butter that's from
Yeah.
over
Oh,
there?
Biscoff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Are you a fan of that?
No, it looks too deadly. I'm aware. It's just you're just spreading a biscuit on a bit of like
On a
toast, aren't you?
biscuit. Biscuit on a biscuit.
Yeah, no, I've heard lots of people talking about how it's a road to ruin. So I'm steering clear. My body's a temple now.
All right. What did you, since you're on the British Baking Show, like we talk about carbs a lot on our other show, Fuel for the Soul. What do you use for nutrition? Is it cake?
Well, no, I
Pocket
mean
of
it's
cake.
it's a thing from that usually comes up in most headlines of like newspaper articles that I did back in the day. But so I'm not like a cake guy. I don't really like desserts and all that kind of stuff, which I feel like is part of the reason why I've been able to keep the weight off 14 years later, So yeah, no, I'm much more a savory guy. I was carb loading with like pizza and all the burritos. I'm all that vibe.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What about on course? What did you use? What's that? The stuff
Oh,
they
the
have over
stuff we
there?
had over there. What was it?
Lucas. Am I making that up?
Oh,
Lucozade? Is that
Lucozade.
a thing?
Lucozade.
Lucozade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our version
Do
of
you like?
Gatorade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, too sweet. It's way too sweet for me. So yeah, no, I was just running. I just trained with water and Morton gels the whole time, um, and yeah, I do listen to your Fuel for the Soul actually, and it's I'm now on electrolyte drinks, and all that kind of stuff, but I wasn't at that point. I feel like there was something that so I felt pretty good for most of the race, and then hit that wall around like 22, I think, and yeah, there was I got cramps basically, kind of in the gut,
Mm.
which I'd not had in any of the training runs or anything, but it didn't stop me running or anything. It just it really like my wife and daughter and my friends kind of I saw them about 3 times on the course, and I knew I was going to see them along embankment, just coming up to Big Ben on that last stretch, and the kind of
Yeah.
2 times I saw him before, I'm like running up to him like whoa, kind of like jumping for joy, and then the last time I was like I can't stop. If I stop, I won't go again, So,
Uh,
so yeah, there was definitely there's definitely room for improvement on the overall stuff, but yeah, I think the electrolyte drinks really seem to. I'm doing the the Zwift thing and the on the turbo trainer in the garage on my off days
I
at
do
the
that
moment.
too.
Yeah, and I that's another thing I've really got into as a nice thing. So yeah, I'm gunning the electrolyte drinks on the regular. I'm going through quite a lot of them.
All right. So, what's your favorite course on Zwift?
Oh man, I
This
don't really
bike
have
trainer,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the
I
Murakami Islands.
I mean from my point of view, it all seems the same. I did a race. Actually did a race in the weekend of London Marathon just gone. I did a race around the London Marathon course, which was quite fun.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm kind of I'm
I
having
hate
to,
Box Hill.
but yeah, it was around that actually. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm really having to kind of rein myself in because I just can't like. I find like just go in for like I can't sit on there for 2 hours and just like mosey along. I much prefer going on for like half an hour and just killing myself as fast as I possibly can. So,
Doing like
but
a
now
HIIT workout.
well, no, just doing like races again. Like the set races you
Oh.
can do the events and but like I put myself into category B, which is really fast and it just means that now if I want to do a race, I'm like, I just want to chill today, and now you can't. I have to go race, so I'm just getting dropped on every race now.
Yeah, that's funny.
So if you were going to toe the line at a marathon tomorrow, what shoe would you lace up?
Well, I get with shoes that I've got.
No, if any of them.
Well, I
If you could
don't,
wear anything.
I guess because I've kind of since the marathon, I've been, well, apart from the Nova Blast 3, I've been kind of trying to stay away from the shoe reviews. Sorry, but 'cause it's too it's too tempting. I've still got quite a few from my last rotation that aren't completely dead. But I've got to say I would like to see, because I've really enjoyed the Nova Blast are the first Asics that I've ever had, and I've really enjoyed them. And I did
Super
watch
Blast.
yes, so I watched a review the other day of the newest one, and they seem fun.
Yeah, the Magic Speed 3 is fun, but if I was just gonna get one Asics, it would be the Super Blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can do pretty much everything from your daily runs to I ran Tokyo Marathon in it. It's just it's a great shoe all right.
And
It has a super foam, but no plate.
Oh, right, okay. But so what's the plated Asics then? What's
You got the
race
Metaspeed
day?
Sky Plus and the Metaspeed Sky or Metaspeed
Okay.
Edge Plus.
Yeah.
But they're a little too for me. They're a little too firm for the marathon distance.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think, Meg?
Yeah. I think in Asics, the racing shoes are a little firm, but actually the Magic Speed, which is technically more of the tempo shoe versus a race day shoe, but it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and then if you're looking for a new super shoe, totally out of left field, the Hoka Rocket X2 is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the Speed Goat 5s, and they're the only Hokas I've had. I've really enjoyed it. The ones I tried, I've only tried on a couple of pairs of Hokas in like the running shop and stuff, but the stack just seemed like,
Ridiculous.
I know everything's stacked, but
Yeah, everything's high stack.
yeah.
You're the opposite of Meg if you like a low stack. Well, then the Magic Speed feels a little closer to the ground. You might like that.
Well, it's not that so I trained I had kind of two pairs of the first pair of first set of Invincible, Nike Invincibles.
Those are stacked.
Yeah, so that and even the New Balance when I ran the marathon in, they were there's quite a good stack on that, isn't there? And I think forever I was always just Nike, back in the day, I was just kind of Nike everything. Every pair of shoes I ever had was Nike. In the first years I was doing 10Ks and half marathons, I was running in pair of shoes that my brother had given me, the Nike Free Run, when the whole there was just minimal,
minimal, nothing.
I ran a half marathon in the 2018 free runs, and it's absolutely mad. Like I can't even imagine that now. And I just did all my training in the same shoe, and then going back to the thing before, it's and I got no injuries. I'd go out, I would run from my studio in Bristol, I'd run up the river and back, midday sun, through the summer. And I'd just be fine, It's absolutely mad. And now I'm just.
Well, maybe you need to get those back then.
Well, no, I think I'm just old.
That's what's happened to me, man. I used to wear a lot more minimal shoes, and now I'm like, if I can feel the ground that bad, I'm like,
I know.
it's gonna crush my legs. But, yeah. All right, Meg.
Should we do some end of podcast questions?
I thought we were doing them with the shoe questions and the food questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There's 3 very fast end of podcast questions for you. Sure. Headphones or no headphones on a solo run?
Headphones, yeah.
All right, give me a playlist.
Yeah, what are you listening to?
Well, it might be embarrassing, but yeah. So I'm a kind of old raver from back in the day, so I've always listened to like Detroit techno, and so if I'm doing, there's a guy called Stacy Pullen who's kind of one of the big DJs from Detroit. I've literally just got a playlist of 30 mixes of his. Some are And so for like the marathon, I had one of his. It was like a 5 hour mix on. I had one headphone in. But through marathon training, and when I started to, you know, see the like, right, you've got to do easy runs. You can't just run everything full pelt. 180 BPM in your ear is not helping. So that's when I got into like podcasts on the run and audiobooks and all that kind of stuff. So
Helps you slow down a little bit.
yeah. I've never been able to run to, I love, that's the only time I listen to techno. Every other part of the day I'm listening to, all other types of music. I've got, eclectic playlists, but I just can't vibe with it on a run. I need a constant.
So no Smiths or Morrissey on the run.
No, Christ, no.
Okay, final question for you. What is your celebratory post-race meal or beverage?
So, well, I mean, I'll just go with post London. We got the best fried chicken in London.
See?
And yeah, I think I heard it on a podcast the other week, right? So someone was talking about fried chicken.
Trying to convince Megan that fried chicken's good.
Shit, man, it's my it's my nemesis, fried chicken. I really have to try hard not to eat it at all times. Thankfully, there's no good takeaway in Newport, so I have to make it all myself, which isn't quite the same. But yeah, I love. We had it all. Fried chicken, burgers, and wings, and all the stuff after London. But drink is. Like, I had a beer straight, like with the charity. There was like a restaurant that we had where everyone kind of met up from the charity, and they gave us food and drink and stuff. And I had like a burger and a beer and that kind of, and I just like, I'm not interested in this whatsoever. I think my guts are still just kind of like, "Rrr."
Yeah.
I found it really hard to drink the beer, but generally my drink of choice is and I don't know if it's just a name that I've made up, but I call it that El Diablo, and it's tequila with ginger beer and fresh mint, and that's my staple.
That doesn't sound horrible.
No, it's very good actually. It's basically what I drink now on the weekends. Just always got a bottle of tequila, and my best mate's got in a long distance relationship with a Mexican lady, so he's got good access to good Mexican tequila. Got me a good bottle for my 40th this year. So
that's rad.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
All right, awesome. Tom, this was very, very fun. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us today. And I hope your Achilles is totally better and that you get back to running.
And when we watch the show, we will always be thinking about this, because before you were just a faceless human that was just illustrations coming up, and now we'll be like, we know that dude.
We talked to that guy.
Look at that lemon.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. It's been great.